pre-1916. These cars represent the beginnings of the motoring age, and they have a large and dedicated following. Where better to start our program than with the oldest running car in British Columbia? Vern Welburn tells us about his 1903 Holly.
Holly Company made motorcycles and then cars until 1904, and then they, after that, they made for Henry Ford and didn't make any more cars.
So there's more money in making carburetors than there was in cars.
Well, their car wasn't much of a car. This Holly was a, it wasn't a very good car even when it was new, but it is old and it's been preserved for a long time. So it was originally owned by the Pemberton family in Victoria. The Pembertons are well-known British Columbia pioneers. Pemberton, BC is named after the grandfather, I think, of the man who bought the Holly. And he bought it, and then it wasn't a very good car, so he put it in the back of their coach house in Victoria, and it sat there until late 40s or 50, 1950, and then a collector got it.
Was that collector you?
No, that collector wasn't me. It was a fellow called Phil Foster, who collected a lot of cars in the 40s and 50s, and he must have had about 20 of them, many of them very, very old cars, antiques. The Detroit Electric that's at the transportation collection was part of it. The Stanley Steamer that I have was part of it, and some very unusual cars.
You also, I believe, were the first Canadian to ever drive in the London to Brighton run. Is that correct?
No, I was I think I was the second Canadian. But anyway, I was one of the first, and yeah, that was in 1973, and we took the Holly over to England in 1973 and drove it to London to Brighton. Yeah.
And you're going back this year with it?
That's right. I'm going in. In fact, well, today's the 3rd of September, and the Holly leaves to get on a ship and go through the Panama Canal before the 15th. I don't know whether it's the 13th or 14th. It has to leave, because the London to Brighton is always held on the first Sunday in November, and so it has to be, it takes about 5 weeks to get over there.
And where are you going to be garaging the car? Is that all arranged, or?
Yeah, that's pretty well arranged. There's a garage arranged, a hotel in South Kensington, and there's a garage in the basement, and fortunately, the Holly's so small that I measured up a van. It'll go in the back of a van, so I can either store it in the van or certainly on the way back from Brighton and picking it up and so on. It'll just go in a van. You don't have to fool around with a trailer in London traffic.
What's it like to drive in the most famous of all car rallies?
It's extremely exciting. It's just really exciting, the traffic is just terrible. The crowds are just a lot of crowds, and you're just hyped right up. I mean, I've never been an actor on the stage, but I'm sure it's the way actors feel when there's an audience, because you just get really souped up. And I don't know, the car wasn't the last time, but it made it, and so let's hope it does it again this time.
Do you win anything for finishing?
No, you get a little bronze medallion, just a little plaque, and it says for punctual arrival in Brighton.
How is your Holly going to do compared to the rest of them?
Well, it's a pretty primitive little car. It never was much. My car doesn't even have mud guards, and it didn't ever have mud guards, and that's pretty primitive. Most of them are a little better than that, but I think my Holly will do, it'll probably get there, and a lot of the others won't. So I got my fingers crossed, but I think it'll get there.
Another early brass era car that is significant to British Columbia's history